Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Academic and Student Affairs Committee meeting. We've got a full agenda here, so we will move through it, but hopefully if everybody can, in the back, maybe just quiet down just a touch, we will get to it. With that, I'd like to ask Mikey to call the roll, please.
Mrs. Frost? Here. Dr. Marshall? Mr. Martin? Commissioner Robinson? Mr. Stavros?
Here.
Dr. Yost?
Here.
Mr. Long? Madam Chair, you have the floor.
Great, thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. Would first like to see if we have a motion to approve the committee minutes from the September 15th meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any other addition, comments? All in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. We have three approvals we got up on the agenda that are requests to exceed the state mandated 120 credit hours for baccalaureate programs. They've been reviewed by our staff and have been found to be compliant with board regulations and state law. I will introduce each one of them quickly. I know we have staff here in the room if we have any other questions to go over them. But the first one is a BS in Exceptional Student Education for the University of West Florida to exceed 120 credit hours to degree. The University of West Florida is looking for this exception with the exceptional student education and its Bachelor of Science in Elementary Education. The request is being made so that both programs can include coursework in ESOL, or English for Speakers of Other Languages, and in reading to meet the Florida Department of Education program approval for National Council for Accreditation of Teacher Education requirements and for teacher education programs. President Benz, I know this is probably a little unusual, but you guys have a pretty targeted program here, and I've read through all the information, and it seemed pretty logical. But if anybody has any questions for President Benz? If not, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
Second.
Any further discussion? Oh, who was that? Sorry. Is that someone on the phone? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Is that okay, Mikey? I did both of those together. Okay, thank you. New College of Florida is seeking an exception for its Bachelor of Arts in Liberal Arts to exceed 120 credit hours to degree. That a credit hour equivalencies equal 124 credit hours and have been in place since 1975 and serve as the basis for calculating tuition and transfer credit. Approving the program to exceed 120 hours degree provides a level of definitive documentation, especially when working with Florida prepaid representatives as well as new college students and their parents regarding degree requirements. Are there any questions relating to this one? We have new college? If not, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Only everything we're going to be so easy today. The next thing we have is a request from the University of South Florida for a PhD in environmental engineering. This new program will replace the current environmental engineering track offered within the PhD in civil engineering, making it a specific standalone degree program. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, Occupational Employment Statistics, Employment and Wages, May 2010, reported that Florida is second in the states with the highest employment level for environmental engineers. The Bureau also predicts that environmental engineers are expected to have employment growth of 31% between now and 2018, which is one of the highest rates for all engineering disciplines and much faster than the average for all occupations. The University of South Florida has addressed concerns over program duplication by initiating discussions with universities with similar programs and receiving letters of support from the two state universities that have doctoral programs in the same CIP code. The letters of support provided by UF and UCF have been attached to the proposal. At this time, I'd like to ask Dr. Wilcox to come on up. And again, having read through all of this, I know we're going through really quickly, but for those of you in the audience, this stack of stuff, we have hundreds of pages on this that we've all been through. And I do want to compliment USF on this program. Taking it from a track to a PhD program, I think, is a really great model to kind of prove out the concept and make it efficient, and it's clearly an area of high demand. So, Dr. Wilcox, you're on.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Duncan, members of the Board of Governors. I'm pleased this morning to present a proposal for a standalone PhD program in environmental engineering at the University of South Florida. This is a natural curricular extension of and will replace the existing environmental engineering track offered as part of the current PhD degree in civil engineering. As you can see, the proposed program aligns closely with the Board of Governors' 4 strategic goals: access to and production of degrees, statewide professional and workforce needs, building world-class academic programs and research capacity, and meeting community needs. Moreover, the program represents an integral part of USF's strategic priority for building sustainable, healthy communities. The new degree proposal was included in USF's Board of Governors approved work plan for 2011, has been endorsed by the USF Board of Trustees, reviewed positively by Board of Governors staff, and in the interest of improved academic articulation across the state university system, statewide consultation has resulted in letters of support from the University of Florida and the University of Central Florida. In addition to thorough departmental reviews conducted by engineers from Purdue and Georgia Tech, the program proposal has been positively reviewed and recommended by Dr. Amy Childress, Chair of the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering at the University of Nevada, Reno, and former President of the Association of Environmental Engineering and Science Professors. Simply stated, environmental engineering focuses on the protection of human populations from the effects of adverse environmental factors and environments, both local and global, from the potentially harmful effects of natural and human activities. Water quality, air quality, water management, sustainable design and engineering, along with environmental biotechnology, are at the heart of such study in Florida. The College of Engineering at the University of South Florida works closely with the College of Public Health, College of Marine Science, College of Arts and Sciences, and the Patel School for Global Sustainability, as well as with industry and public sector agencies in the design and delivery of the program. A standalone degree in environmental engineering, rather than a track, provides a much-needed credential that recognizes the attainment of a specialized knowledge base and skill set and will enhance our graduates' competitive position in the marketplace. The program is further expected to generate new knowledge and technologies essential to strengthening Florida's innovation-based economy and to help manage our many environmental stresses. Last year, as Governor Duncan noted, CNNmoney.com reported that environmental engineering was the 5th best job available out of 100 ranked, while the U.S. Bureau of Labor predicts that environmental engineering will witness a 31% growth rate in high-skilled, high-paid jobs in the coming decade. Just yesterday, a national report placed environmental engineering among the top 10 majors with the lowest unemployment rate in the United States, with an unemployment rate of just 2.2%. In addition to serving as key partners in our program's design and development, environmental engineering firms, along with state, federal, and international agencies, from the Florida Department of Environmental Protection to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the Department of Energy, NOAA, USGS, and so forth, provide increasing employment opportunities for our graduates. Moreover, students in the existing PhD program in civil engineering, along with those in the Masters in Global Sustainability and our Peace Corps partnership programs, have expressed widening interest in the proposed PhD program in environmental engineering. And so, with need established and the adequacy of resources strategically built over time, from a highly productive cohort of faculty to state-of-the-art labs, equipment, and library resources, the relatively low projected cost of program delivery is, in large part, the product of existing and shared faculty and staff resources, as well as a robust and confident stream of competitive research funds that flow to the program. I'm pleased to be joined today by Dr. John Winsek, Dean of USF's College of Engineering, and Dr. James Mihalsik, one of our 21st century world-class scholars and professor of environmental engineering. Between us, we'll be pleased to address any questions you may have. Thank you.
Dr. Wilcox, one thing that I know you and I discussed yesterday was that the cost per FTE on this program was very competitive, and to the point where we were just wanting to make sure you really had all your costs covered. Could you just walk the committee through a little bit about why the cost structure is what it is for this program?
Well, in large part, as mentioned, because we're building upon an existing resource base, both a human resource base and a structural, if you will, infrastructure a base that has been built over time. The added dependency on C&G dollars, overheads to support graduate assistance is made possible through a tremendously impressive upward trajectory in the receipt of competitive federal grants, particularly from the National Science Foundation within the department. John and Jim, would you like to add to that?
We do have plenty of data to show that we've sustained contracts and grants well over $2 million coming out of that department over the last decade.
Okay.
Pretty consistently.
Any other questions for USF? Not, I'd entertain a motion. Approve?
Second.
To approve the program? Great. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Great. Next up, we have Florida International University is requesting an approval of a PhD in biomedical sciences. The program will be collaboratively offered with their medical school, the Department of Human and Molecular Genetics, and the Department of Molecular Microbiology and Infectious Disease, and the Department of Cellular Biology and Pharmacology, and the Department of Immunology. It is expected to strengthen FIU's new med school and support the overall growth of the college and the university. The university has addressed concerns over program duplication by initiating discussions with and receiving letters of support from FSU, USF, UF, and UCF, who have similar programs associated with their medical school. I will say this was a somewhat complex proposal that we had, and we had quite a bit of discussion with staff on this one. So I would like to have the provost for FIU come on up and just give us a brief overview.
Morning. Thank you, Governor Duncan and members of the committee. As Governor Duncan has already indicated, this is a PhD that is going to be shared among all the basic science departments in the College of Medicine. One of the features of this program is that the students that are working toward their PhD will be sitting side by side in the classroom with the medical students during the introductory basic sciences portion of the medical curriculum. And we think this has two particular advantages. One is that for the MD students who desire to go on to achieve a MD PhD program, they will have had these introductory courses, obviously, as part of their medical education curriculum. And the PhD students who are not going to get an MD degree, but they will be exposed to what is going on in biomedical science as is prepared in the training of medical doctors. And so what this does is it really allows all of the students coming out of this PhD program to be particularly attuned to the bedside, for the bench to bedside practice of research and so that they can really understand how their fundamental discoveries can really improve health and responses to human disease and overall benefit to individuals suffering from any medical conditions. Because of this important connection between bench and bedside medicine translational research, which I'm sure you've all heard that the National Institute of Health is particularly interested in, we received letters of support that are in the package from all the leaders in medicine, health, and bioscience industries in South Florida. Clearly, this meets the same series of BOG goals that Provost Wilcox identified, and I'll just specifically reference the 1B2 among the BOG goals, which relates to statewide professional and workforce needs in health care. The students are going to be, in this program, going to be working with a very strong research-based faculty. We've been very successful in recruiting faculty in our new College of Medicine, including a member of the National Academy of Sciences. And in just the second year of full operation of the College of Medicine, the faculty there have received over $8 million in external funding from, primarily from NIH to support their research, and this will also support the graduate students that are involved in that program. There are 10 in the packet, there are 10 faculty who are identified as participating in this program in the initial years, and both at FIU and elsewhere, they've supervised over 50 doctoral students already, so they're well experienced. And as a group, those 10 faculty have had 1,619 peer-reviewed publications. So it's a very strong faculty that'll be working with the students, and we expect they'll be doing an excellent job. As Chair Duncan has noted, we have received letters from our other institutions within the SUS to assure that there is no overlap. As a provost, I really have a certain level of resistance to deans coming to me and quoting accreditation requirements as a need for doing a particular thing. And so that's why I have emphasized all the capacity we have and the great program that we've laid out for our program. And I'm only going to footnote it that LCME also included in their recommendations that we do have a PhD program to round out what we're trying to do in terms of a research-based medical school. And I'll just conclude with the comment from our external reviewer, Dan Waltz, who is the Associate Dean for Research at the Wayne State University College of Medicine. His statement was, "The proposed program is very well designed, is well aligned with the mission of the college and the university, and will significantly benefit the students, residents, and businesses of Greater Miami area as well as of South Florida. It is thus without reservation that I strongly recommend the implementation of the proposal to establish a PhD program in basic biomedical sciences in the College of Medicine at Florida International University." And I'm very fortunate to have with me our Senior Associate Dean for Academic Affairs in the College of Medicine and one of our two members of the National Academy, Jolie Simpson, to assist me in answering any of your questions.
Great, thank you, Provost. One thing, just again, a clarification from a discussion that I had with President Rosenberg yesterday. You are targeting kind of intentionally a rather low enrollment number for this program because I think you guys feel that that works best. But if you could maybe touch on that. And then also just to clarify that there really is no new state funds going in this. You're going to allocate some existing resources over, and the rest of the cost in this program will come from the tuition generated by the FTE.
Okay, yes, the numbers are fairly low because we wanted to be sure that we met our targets. We're talking about bringing in 5 students a year and graduating after they've gone through their program, 5 students a year. In order to be sure that we accomplish that, not only do we have the faculty that can work with them, but we also intend to fully support them as they go through their program. All the initial 10 faculty are already fully funded either through research awards or through E&G funding. We will, over the course of the next 5 years, be adding an additional 5 research faculty who will also be associated with the PhD program. But 55% of the total investment in the program is for graduate student stipends and for the tuition waivers associated with that. And a large portion of that will indeed come from the external funding that's generated by the faculty.
Thank you. One other question. The outside consultant that suggested a course on informatics and computing to be added to the program, is that something you guys are looking at, or?
As I recall, that's one of the electives, Governor Duncan, that's listed there, and we will probably make that a requirement. And a member of the faculty is listed who is fully capable of handling that.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions for FIU? If not, I'd entertain a motion for approval. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you for your presentation. Okay, moving on. Next, we have a public notice to amend existing regulation 6.018, substitutions or modifications of requirements for program admission, undergraduate transfer, and for graduation by students with disability. This action will conform to sections 1.007.264 and 1.007.265 of the Florida statutes, which were amended by the 2011 Florida legislature. The proposed amended regulation has been reviewed by the University General Councils, members of the Council of Academic Vice Presidents, members of the Council of Student Affairs, State University Student Disability Service Directors, and other university staff. It was fairly straightforward. I know one thing that I had asked some questions about was the inclusion of ADD into this requirement. And talking with the Student Affairs Vice Presidents, they feel like they really did kind of hash this one out amongst themselves rather thoroughly. And also a reminder, this had been on our last agenda. We pulled it to get those comments and things incorporated. So I do think this resolution reflects the best advice from our staff at all the universities. Are there any other questions, or is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. The next item is a public notice to amend one of our existing regulation currently named Academic Learning Compacts. While the amendments are generally technical in nature, because of the subject of student learning outcomes is very important, we've asked Dr. Lamond to provide a brief presentation on the subject of academic learning compacts to refresh our memories with regard to this regulation and provide information to new board members. Dr. Lamond.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is going to be a very brief presentation, but take the first 2 points. First of all, the changes to this regulation are very minimal and technical in nature. So they've been vetted by a group of university folks who worked with us in our office in order to do just some technical changes. In effect, we boiled down the regulation by about half size. The other thing I would say about this regulation is it really is one of the very most important regulations you can have, because it's your quality control mechanism with regard to baccalaureate education at your level of scrutiny. I want to point out to you that in the state university system, there are currently 817 discrete baccalaureate programs across the 11 institutions, 817. And last year, they conferred baccalaureates on almost exactly 54,000 students coming out of the system. So the fundamental question is, for a university board of trustees, for a state governing board, or for even the university itself, the faculty, and fundamentally for the students, is some assurance of what it is that they get when they graduate from a program. How do you know whether or not they're getting it? How are you measuring it? And how are you using it to improve the program? And that's what academic learning compacts are all about. We started putting these in place. We came to the conclusion that only at the program level would you be able to have this quality control level of insurance. And in 2004, we began putting academic learning compacts in place within the state university system to identify by each and every program, 817 of them, what it is that students will have learned by the time that they get out of the program. And also how we would be able to ensure that each and every baccalaureate program would include not only content knowledge, but also communication skills and critical thinking skills. This is the action before you today. As I said, it's simply to change the name. We're changing the name from a regulation on academic learning compacts to the broader and more nationally accepted term of student learning assessment. Just in terms of the academic learning compacts, it's expected that each university would develop processes in the following areas of putting in place for each of its baccalaureate programs a learning compact with related assessment mechanisms to evaluate the students, which in turn would be able to be used to evaluate the program, which in turn would be able to be used to continuously improve the program. So it's cyclic in nature. You might note the second bullet also, that each academic learning compact is to take into consideration perspectives of appropriate constituencies, such as potential employers, potential graduate programs, and so on. Each learning compact is supposed to be posted on the university website in a user-friendly language, non-academic language, and we receive a periodic status report on academic learning compacts so we can see year by year how things are going. These are some of the outcomes of our most recent survey. You'll see that of our 817, 99% have completed the identification of core student learning outcomes. 98% have posted them on their websites, and 92% have identified the assessment mechanisms that are used for continuous improvement, such as capstone projects, portfolios, and many other kinds of tools that are used on the campuses. I have taken one of the 817 academic learning compacts and pulled just a couple of pieces out of one of these compacts so you can see the way that the universities are using them. In this particular case, this slide shows an outcome of demonstrated knowledge of chemistry topics. The second one is a knowledge of scientific research methods, and the third is the use of scientific method in well-written, logically correct, and concise lab reports. And then you see the assessment mechanisms associated with each and every one of those expected outcomes. On the next slide, same academic learning compact, and again, this is just a piece of one. This is not even a complete academic learning compact, but here you're looking at critical thinking skills and the assessment mechanisms. And note on the first bullet, under assessment, that you will see that not just a professor, it's academic learning compacts are not about just getting an okay grade in a course. They are about different kinds of measurements, different kinds of assessment mechanisms, and often include teams of faculty working together. So here you're seeing critical thinking skills and communication skills, outcomes and measurements. In some, a best practice, a perfectly crafted academic learning compact would include that baccalaureate mission and the goals, the specific student learning outcomes, a number of valid and reliable measures that would be used, performance targeting, both at the program and the student level, using data for the results, both at the program and the student level, and using those results, again, for continuous program improvement to keep the baccalaureate improving all along the way. This slide, I don't expect you to be able to read, but I want you to keep track of the colors.
But we can't see them, so you're going to have to.
on the monitors currently.
I can't see way
You don't
back
have-
there, so.
Well, then you don't have any.
Thanks.
Can you see the colors?
So you'll have to walk us through it.
All I wanted to show you were the colors on this one.
Okay.
Green is good, and this is 2009. This is just a very elaborate process in which the University of South Florida uses to track each and every one of its academic learning compacts. The rows in this slide are individual baccalaureates. The columns are pieces of academic learning compacts. Green means good to go. This is from 2009, and if I show you a 2010 slide, you'll just see the progress in terms of more and more of the academic learning compact being completed. In conclusion, I wanted to invite Dr. Wilcox up to the podium just to take perhaps a minute or so, since I took some of his slides, and maybe he could talk about how the academic learning compacts are working to improve programs and to identify student learning outcomes on his campus. Dr. Wilcox?
Thank you, Dr. Lamont, and I'll just offer some short comments and be happy to take any questions. I think at the outset it's important to point out that the USF system's embrace of academic learning compacts really followed a natural integration into the university's planning, performance, and accountability framework and culture that was initiated by our founding board of trustees, several of whom are on the Board of Governors today. I think what we've witnessed over the past 5 or 6 years is a significant shift in our primary focus from simply student access to learning outcomes, student learning outcomes and attainment. And that really has represented a major transformation, not just for the University of South Florida, but all 11 institutions across the state university system. As you've seen, or perhaps not seen, from the matrix that was presented by Dr. Lamont, I think what's been most evident is a renewed emphasis on setting academic program goals related to evidence-based learning, on performance assessment and accountability, and as Dr. Lamont rightly has pointed out, continuous improvement in curriculum development, delivery, and student learning outcomes. We think that together we've created a model program that clearly assesses, gauges student progress, and assures student attainment at the end of the day. So happy to take any questions that you may have.
Yes, thank you for your presentations. I do have one question on the part about the appropriate or potential employers and graduate programs. There's obviously been a lot of dialogue lately about wages, and is that something that is typically included too, potential learning, opportunities, and are they not in there yet, or could they be? It talks about employers, but I don't see kind of income potential outlined in it.
I think the important role that the potential employers have played to this moment in time has been actually helping us shape appropriate learning outcomes.
Okay.
To this point in time, the focus has primarily been on that.
Okay.
Knowledge, attainment, skill development. There's absolutely no reason, however, why we couldn't integrate the likelihood, as I alluded to earlier, the employment likelihood as well as wages earned into that moving forward. And that, of course, would be consistent across the state university system. So.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions? If not, I would entertain a motion for approval of the draft regulation.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. I do think this is one that we can continue to get better and better on and help all of our students and our institutions. So hopefully maybe this is something we can periodically get updates in our committee on kind of how we're doing with these compacts and continue to learn a little more of how they're being utilized.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I think your point was really good, and I agree with Dr. Wilcox. I think we sort of left it open-ended there. As we promulgate the regulation, I'm one who doesn't believe there's too many times where you shouldn't connect. Here's what you have to do. Here's what the business experience expects of you. And by the way, at the end of the pipe, this is what you might stand to make if you navigate this program. So not only here, but other places, website available for students and faculty. But this, I really do think would be a good place, and just add one more step to the Learning Compact concept so that everybody knows each program, but they also know at the end of the day that it's been, we've had input from the business community on putting it together, and that if you acquire a degree in that area, these are the base salaries that you're looking at. And we'll make sure as we promulgate the reg that we look at that.
Does
Thanks,
that
Dr. Moore.
require any modification to our motion, or you think we're good?
We'll include it.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Now I'd like to call on Dr. Ehas to come up and give us an update from the Council of Student Affairs.
Thank you, Governor Duncan. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
In your packets, you have some information that we compiled related to a survey that all of us participated in earlier this fall. And this survey we conducted amongst all the SUS institutions. Can you hear?
Speak right to that.
Yeah, it's a little,
I'm sorry?
can you
Pull it
speak
right
a
over to you.
Yeah, get closer to the mic.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Is that better?
Thank you.
Good morning again. In your packets, you have some information related to a survey that all of the SUS institutions participated in response to Governor Duncan's request that we bring back information to you regarding the ways that we handle identifying students of concerns, working with them, and implementing strategies to help them become productive members of our community. When we look at students of concern, we're looking at individual student behavior. And the definition of threat assessment when it comes to individual students is really a process whereby a multidisciplinary team that usually consists of counseling center members, student conduct members, health center, law enforcement members, they receive information about a person of concern, someone that somebody in the community has recognized as maybe exhibiting behavior that seems unusual or different or may possibly be a threat. This team gathers additional information from a wide variety of sources, and through the different lenses of that multidisciplinary team, they come to a consensus regarding whether or not an individual is a threat and how to best deal with that threat if it exists. However, the teams don't always come together immediately. The teams are brought together when there's consensus and there's repetition. Minimizing threat by an individual student begins by creating a campus-wide culture of care where community members are trained to recognize signs of distress and have a simple means to share that information with an appropriate resource. For instance, at UCF, we have an Office of Student Rights and Responsibilities, and an individual member of our community can go directly to that website and fill out a student of concern form, which we follow up on immediately. A phone call, a visit is also something that does occur. In addition, members of the community will know, based on our work with the community, how to help an individual student access resources to minimize the possibility of an issue becoming a threat. Threat assessment is an art and not a science. There are no standard demographics, diagnoses, or other characteristics that can predict behavior of students. Instead, threat assessment teams continually assess and reassess situations based on information gathered from a wide variety of sources. If you look at the chart that is in your packet, we simply put together some of the best practices that we have seen across the country related to dealing with individual student behavioral threat. And all of our institutions are following these best practices. One of the things that we accomplished as a result of doing this assessment was we were able to notice what we need to do to improve how we are working together as an SUS system in terms of learning from each other and improving our responses on campuses. So future steps that we are planning are to create more opportunities to bring everyone in the state together to really look at best practices and new information that is coming from the national arena. University of Florida hosted a conference of this sort this past summer that all institutions of higher education in the state participated in. We also think that it makes sense to bring together the individuals on each of our campus who are really the lead members of our threat assessment teams, individual student threat assessment teams, into an SUS council or committee. And further, we do think that we need continual discussions with our general counsels collectively, because sometimes there's different interpretations of what we're doing at different institutions. And so I want to acknowledge the work of Dr. Jen Deshaw from the University of Florida, who took it upon herself to develop, to use this instrument and gather the data, and also Dr. Vivian Ortiz from UCF, who took mounds of data and brought it together into the chart and information that I've provided to you. And with that, I guess I'll entertain any questions.
Thank you. Governor Perez stepped away, but I think some of this and the sharing of best practices on this issue came after one of the incidents on a campus, was it Virginia Tech, several years ago.
Yes.
And so, again, just as a kind of reminder for the board, and this is not a new subject for us. This really is a continuation of trying to make sure we're leveraging best practices across our campuses and sharing the knowledge. And so I think it's important we continue to get these updates because this is student safety.
We were
obviously
very
is-
pleased to see that we were right on target with national practices.
That's great. Any questions for Dr. Ehas? If not, Governor Long, if you could please give
Thank
us an update. Thank you. If you could give us an update for the Student Association? Nope.
Hello?
Yep.
Now you can hear me. Okay. So just a quick update on the Florida Student Association. This is an incredibly exciting time for us. We're restructuring our staff. So we will no longer be partnered with Clutch Strategies. We will be looking into potentially an executive director, potentially a lobbyist. We'll be making that decision as a board this coming Friday. So I'll provide another update at our next meeting once it's finalized. But with that being said, we will be looking for staff in the near future. So if anyone has any suggestions on someone in Tallahassee that maybe needs a job, we would be more than happy to talk with them.
Be careful what you wish for.
Any good suggestions? Rally and Tally has been set for January 26, 2012. We have the spaces reserved, and we're very excited for that time. We hope to see some of the members of the Board of Governors there. I think the faculty will be there on January 20th.
What was the date again?
January 26th.
Could we get a little quiet in the back there? It's a little hard to hear up here. Thank you.
In addition, we've elected a new vice chairman for the organization. He is with us today. That is the president of the University of North Florida Student Government, Matt Brockelman. Everything has been going pretty smoothly. Nothing new. There have been some interesting media articles about the student body presidents and their salaries, but other than that, everyone is doing well, and we're enjoying our meetings together.
Great. Are there any other student government people in the audience we need to recognize? Maybe not
I don't
yet.
believe so. I believe Matt Diaz is here with a group of students from the University of South Florida, but I don't think they've arrived.
Governor Parker.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of the student newspapers have been writing articles about that. It's been interesting for all of us. We do. That's been the question. Yeah, I know. I know.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, then, moving on. I wanted to give you an update on two of the programs that I think you all know have been kind of pet projects of mine. First is our academic program coordination project. Again, this is something we've been underway with for some time, working closely with the provost and our staff on looking at the enrollment levels and looking at our system as a system. There's some updates in your package. Again, I think some keynotes is 59 programs as a result of this have been identified for corrective action and/or collaboration. 59 programs have been in corrective action. 51 have been placed in inactive status. 74 programs were terminated or recommended for termination, and 128 of the programs that we looked at were really newly established and probably not they're low enrollment just for a point in time, and will hopefully be on the right track. So I think that the thing that is not in your briefing that I think is very important is that this is really where we've been. I cannot convey to you how much of an effort this was for our staff and for the institutions. Richard Stevens and everybody on the Board of Governors staff has just done an amazing job. But this was a lot of information, and this is a view of our system that we really did not have up to this point, that I think gives us a tremendous opportunity to now move forward and how we can use that information more effectively and more strategically, and not just make across the board looks and reviews of things. I know the Chancellor will be speaking with the presidents tonight. I'm continuing the dialogue with the provost, but I think probably at our next meeting we'll want to talk a little more about what kind of next steps we're looking at and how we can better use this information going forward. So again, just want you to know it's front and center on our agenda. The staff are working hard on it. If you have any questions or want more briefing on where we are with this, please let the staff know. but I expect it maybe to be more of a dialogue at our next meeting, kind of on where we can go with this very valuable information. Next is the adult degree completion pilot. We heard about this one at our last meeting, and again, I think the idea is to continue to build on the work group, and they're working through the business plan to implement a cooperative pilot for the SUS that would initially target individuals who stopped at the state university system with 60 credits but no degree, or more credits and no degree. The initial work group was primarily staff from USF and UWF, and again, thank you very much to both of those institutions for taking the lead on it. But we got some traction, and we've now been joined by FAMU, North Florida, UF, and FIU. So we've almost got a full set here. So I think this is a real important opportunity for a great return on investment to taxpayers. These are people who we've spent a lot of money, got them over halfway there, and we've lost them. The technology and the tools and the information available to us now, in my mind, kind of make this program a no-brainer, that we can go back after them and hopefully bring them in and get them degrees. And so you will continue to hear more on this. The team has worked pretty hard. They had another work group on the 27th. They're working through stuff like the initial degrees that would be offered and just kind of how to work through this. And so we will hopefully have more information for you. They're targeting January 12th, this coming January, to have kind of a more detailed description of the pilot along with any cost assumptions for implementation. But obviously, I think it's something we're really focusing on being able to get packaged. So at our January meeting, I would expect to hear more about that and hopefully have some action items for us. Any questions? Nope. Okay. There are also a number, just wanted to bring everyone's attention to the fact that there are a number of new federal regulations regarding eligibility for institutional participation in Title IV financial aid programs. This was some stuff that's been in our clips lately. One of these is the requirement for each institution to make available an online tool called a net price calculator, which is intended to help give students and families a more accurate estimate of real costs for higher ed. The net price calculator allows them to input their financial information and see the impact of their personal situation on the cost to attend college. I'd asked our staff kind of where we were with that, and I'm happy to announce that all the universities and new college have successfully launched an online net price calculator in compliance with this federal law. So again, I think we're doing great stuff. We're really trying to make the system more accessible and have really good information for our students out there as they're getting into higher ed. So if you have any questions on any of that, please don't hesitate to reach out to the staff. And with that, are there any other items that any committee members want to bring to the table? Not, Madam Chair, we will adjourn 10 minutes early. How's that?